Hello, 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 hello. Welcome. Thank you for watching. I wanted to talk to you today about 7 mistakes that you should avoid if you are thinking about starting your property preservation business or if you've even started already. So, I'm Danielle Pierce, your host, creator of Women, Wealth, and Real Estate, coming to you live today on this lovely platform. And I definitely appreciate you all for watching. So, first thing you should avoid buying your own materials and supplies. Okay. I would say you should avoid this because it gets costly, and because my motto, and actually what's been proven based on my experience, is that people take care of their things far better than they'll ever take care of yours. So if they've spent money, if your contractors have spent their own money buying their own materials, supplies, and tools, then they're much more likely to keep up with them, as opposed to you spending your money buying those things and then everything gets misplaced or lost, or you're missing inventory and things like that. So I definitely would consider not buying the materials and supplies and requiring your contractors to furnish their own whatever it is that they need. Second thing that you should consider that you should avoid is overspending. Overspending. It is very easy when there's a lot of money coming in. It seems like there's always something that you magically need. But if you think about it, even in your personal life, when you don't have a lot of money coming in, or you know that you have to wait 3 weeks until you get this amount of money, don't you find a way to make it those 3 weeks without buying things that you don't need, buying things online, etc. So I would say to really just put a halt on spending altogether. If you're not buying your materials and supplies, and you really shouldn't be buying anything anyway, other than your general liability and your other insurances that you need. So consider not buying anything that is not absolutely positively mandatory for you to have to run your business. And the way that you'll know if it's absolutely positively mandatory is if you think about it and you wait a few days, and maybe you wait 7 days, and then you come back to it. If you still need it, then that means you really need it. If you have moved on to something else and it slipped your mind, then that was just something that you really didn't need to be successful. Failing to pay taxes is point number three. You are a 1099 independent contractor when you're working as a property preservation vendor, period. And that's for pretty much any company that you're working with. They'll send you a 1099 at the end of the year, and then they'll report it to the IRS, that same 1099. And then it's up to you to go forth and figure out, your expenses, your deductions, and, the amount of taxes that you owe. I would encourage you, if you're not already, to you could do quarterly, of course. People recommend that, but you could even go online to the IRS and make payments any day of the week at irs.gov. I mean, they're always open to accepting money, right? they they're not going to make it difficult for you to pay them. So consider, every deposit that you get in, consider taking maybe 10 or 15% and paying it to the IRS. That way you come out, you definitely won't have to worry about owing thousands and thousands of dollars at the end of the tax year for whatever type of corporate structure that you have. So I would consider that. Fourth mistake is taking too long to fire people. When people aren't working out and you see that, and you see that maybe 3 times, then really you don't need to see anything else. Some people go the route of having like performance evaluation plans and improvement plans and talking to people and counseling and things like that. I think that that just drags on the inevitable. I think that, we all know when someone is not a good fit, in a business and probably all other aspects of life too. But as it relates to your property preservation business, if that person has shown you something very early on in the relationship and you choose to continue to ignore it, you can expect that same issue to keep cropping back up time and time again because you never addressed it properly the first time. So I would consider, if someone is not working out, even if it's your family member or your friend or whoever it may be, have a conversation with them and think about severing that relationship now before things get ugly and it takes you too long to make the changes that you need to make. That'd be my recommendation. So we covered 7 mistakes. We're on 7 mistakes to avoid is what we're talking about. Buying your own materials and supplies is mistake number one. Overspending, mistake number two. Failing to pay taxes, mistake number three. Keeping people around too long as your sub when they're not working out is mistake number four. Not keeping proper documentation is mistake number five. And this is pretty much across the board. So we can relate this to mileage. Failing to keep track of mileage. We can relate it to subcontractor paperwork, the onboarding paperwork, their W-9, copies of their license, copies of their social security card, copies of, whatever documentation that you need, copies of their insurance if they tell you that they have their own insurance, expenses, and revenue, keeping track of all of that. If you are not keeping proper documentation, then I can almost promise you that you will not have a successful long-term company. Now, it may work in the short term, for sure. It may work in the short term, but in the long term, it will catch up with you. Not having the proper paperwork, even for just the purposes of the IRS, is a very, very big deal. So, for example, you bring someone on board and they're working for you as a sub, and they end up making, I don't know, $38,000 that year that they worked with you, right? But you go back to through your paperwork when you're trying to get all your documentation together to file your tax return, and you realize you never got a copy of their social security card. You never got their social security number because you were in a hurry. You were just trying to bring somebody on board ASAP. You wanted to get them, out in the field to start working, and now you don't have the proper documentation that you need, which means, ladies and gentlemen, that you get to eat that whole $38,000 and keep it as revenue for your company because you don't have the documentation to create a 1099 to issue to the person that you hired on board. So it's a very, very big deal. So keep proper documentation. Not tracking expenses. We basically covered that already in another point. But you want to keep track of everything that you're spending. A lot of times, and in this business and in personal life too, there's a lot of small expenses that on a day-to-day basis we think is not adding up to a lot of money. For example, if you go and you are buying fast food or you're going to Starbucks every day, you're like, oh, that's just $4 a day. That's $5 a day. And sometimes at Starbucks you at like $7, $8, $10 real quick, right? And you think that that's not adding up to a lot of money. But then you look over a period of 30 days, you're like, damn, I spent $350 at Starbucks on coffee and pastries that I didn't need. Super easy to do. Super easy to do. And even in this business, it's the same thing applies. It's super easy to spend money. You tell yourself, oh, I need to get new snow blowers. I need to get new lawnmowers. I need to get new edge trimmers. I need to get everything brand new, 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 new. When the reality is, you can get a lot of stuff off Craigslist. You can get a lot of stuff off of this app called OfferUp. There's garage sales. There's all types of ways that you could save money and minimize your expenses if you were so inclined to do so. But if you're not tracking anything at all, then you're never going to be able to do that. So tracking your expenses is like the most critical thing that you could do to ensure that your company stays around. And then the last mistake, which you should avoid, this is going to be a good one, picking the wrong partner. Okay? Picking the wrong partner. Some of y'all think that because you're in a relationship with somebody and you feel like they need something to do and you're going to find something for them to do, right? And so they're going to work this business with you even though they don't know it, whether or not they agree to it or not. And then you wonder why that relationship doesn't work out or the business ends up failing and doesn't go anywhere. You have to be very careful about who you select as your partner. Just because you are dating someone, just because you're married to someone, just because someone is your childhood BFF or your best cousin, does not mean that they're going to be an ideal business partner for you. And to the extent that you recognize that up front and you take the proper precautions and you make the proper adjustments and you treat that relationship as you would anything else, then you'll be successful. But if you can't even honestly take a step back at the very beginning and say, am I a good fit with this person? Am I a good fit with this person? Then you're probably going to have problems down the line, especially if it's someone that you're in a relationship with. I'll tell you this before I go. I'll tell you this. Whatever problems you have in your personal relationship will show up in the business side as well. It's not going to go anywhere. So now you're going to deal with the same issue at home, and then when y'all are working together, you're going to have the same issue times two when you're working together for the business. So I would encourage you to take some time to think about, does this person compliment me? Do I compliment them? Do we even work well together? And if the answer to that is no, and you know it's no, like you know whether or not the answer to that question is true or not. If the answer is no, then don't do it. Because if you do, you're most likely going to end up regretting it and you'll be looking for somebody to take you out of the business You'll be looking for a way out of the business that you are just in such a hurry to get into, to be quite honest. So it's a very, very big deal, and it's crucial to your success, especially as a new property preservation vendor. So just to recap all 7 things that you should avoid. Buying your own materials and supplies. I would encourage a contractor to furnish their own supplies. Overspending, failing to pay taxes, taking too long to fire people that are not working out for your company, not keeping proper documentation, especially as it relates to your subcontracted employees, not tracking your expenses, or just spending money aimlessly, willy-nilly, just because it's coming in, and picking the wrong partner. So those are my 7 tips. I thank you all for watching. Again, this is Danielle Pierce, creator of Women Wealth in Real Estate. If you like more information on getting started and you're wondering what you should do next, I'm hosting a webinar October the 10th at 7 o'clock p.m. Details are in the Facebook group, Women Wealth in Real Estate. I'd encourage you to join the group if you haven't already. You can get information about the webinar, and you can also schedule a consult with me to speak one-on-one if you'd like to. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Good day. Good night.